the schools, it's a stone's throw from here, that's involved in the program. The short version about the program is that there are, a lot of what I do is that I'm an attorney, so don't call and leave. But there's a few. Yeah, a large part of what I do is special needs planning. So you get to know all the people in a lot of people in special needs in the business. And I learned over the years that the private not-for-profit schools, there's 38 of them that are in Bergen, Passaic, and Hudson County within our district, that a lot of times when they get there, when some of the students get older, they're trying to find out whether or not these kids are going to be able to enter the workforce. So they try to find a place where these kids can go, they can be evaluated, and also can assist the local businesses. It's a turnkey operation, there's really no involvement. But this way, these schools can actually evaluate these children's potential in a real live environment. They can't duplicate that in the classroom, that's part of the problem, okay? So what they'll do is they'll try to find small businesses or large, doesn't matter the size of the business, but typically, the cross-section is people with Down syndrome, autism, those types of conditions. They'll send a child to a business, to a workplace with a teacher, because these kids can't transfer themselves, and you can't actually communicate with them in the beginning, particularly autistic kids, because they're just non-communicative. And what they'll do is they'll come to a work site for maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, a week, sometimes more, depending on where they are. They rotate them, so we need work sites. And then they'll come with a job coach, a training person, who will actually cue the kids to do whatever it is that you need done, and will evaluate the child's ability to interact socially, not only the work ability, but also whether this child's going to be able to, at some point in time, to go into a workplace without having somebody standing next to them all the time, cueing them, say hello, say goodbye, whatever the case may be. And they actually do. And we tried this before this program went into effect. In our firm, we had a kid named Ryan, and Ryan was very severely autistic. He came from one of the autistic schools in Bergen County, here in Bergen County. And when he first came into our office, he was totally non-communicative. Typical autistic behavior, looking around, trying to figure out what's going on in his own world. And by the end, he was with us for 2 years, which is, resulted in a sense of a change in the way the program ran, because he just kept wanting to come back. And so he came back. He did very, very basic stuff for us, stuff that would drive most people, crazy to shred. He'd shred for 2 hours. He'd shred all day long. He'd shred as long as you let him, literally. And these kids are excellent work people, by the way, because they're very focused and they don't make mistakes. We're always daydreaming, at least I am, looking out the window, trying to remember what I'm doing the next 5 minutes. He'll sit there and just do whatever it was. He learned how to file, he learned how to alphabetize. He put together brochures, because I do a lot of lecturing, so those little bifold things you see with the business card. He put those all together for us. And he took great pride in his work. And what ended up, it was funny, last year, last year it was, his job coach came to me and said, I got a bone to pick with you, and I'm trying to figure out, because this happens to me all the time when I get home, So I'm used to that. So, okay, what did I do now? Right. So totally clueless. So she comes up and says, I got a bone to pick with you. Okay, what did I do now? Which is my natural reaction to that question. And she said, well, I really work hard. She was a socialist. I worked really hard. I made peanuts, and I know what she works, because now I'm sitting on the board. You get involved in that. That's what happens to you. So I'm on the board of that school. So I know what she was earning. And she says, I really work hard. We try to do this. We love our kids. And when Ryan goes home, do you think he talks about what a wonderful experience he's had at our school? Or, how great the progress? No, he talks about his job. That's all he wants to talk about is his job. It's 2 hours or less every week. It's really gratifying. By the end of the 2-year period, in my office, when I sit at my desk looking at my monitors, where all the windows are. And so my door and entrance is behind me, but I can see my reflection off the glass. And Ryan comes in. Now, he's about this tall, big kid. And he knocks on the door. I mean, I'm shortcutting it, but he knocks on my door. He says, hello, Ray. And I said, turn around. And I said, hello, Ryan. And he said, no. Today's my last day. I said, oh, okay. And then he said, but I'll be back in September. He says, I'll see you in September. And then comes September, and they knock on my door again, and I see him in the reflection, and he says, hi, hello, Red, hello, Ryan. He says, I'm back. Did you miss me? And meanwhile, I'm a law firm, so you can imagine how much paper we accumulate. So we had a stack about yay high, and I said, did we miss you? And I took him into the file room, and he said, his eyeballs opened up. He just wanted to go right away. So it was really a wonderful experience. Now we've had other kids coming and rotating, and you can see the progress. I mean, the thing about the program is the businesses that sponsor these kids, they get so much more out of it. because they get to work with a child that has a severe disability. Many of these businesses never met these people, so there's this mythology about these kids, you know. And when you get to meet them, you can't help but love these kids. I mean, they're pure souls. They don't know how to harm anybody. That's just not in their DNA. And so the people get to see them and they get to really enjoy them. So it's a wonderful type of thing there. These schools are really desperate, much to my surprise, for these types of work sites. Now, the work site, as I can tell you from personal experience, the demand on your work site is minimal. There's hardly anything you have to do because you can't, in the beginning, particularly in the beginning. So all that happens is, you know, when the kid comes in with his job coach, you just say, this is what I want you to do today, and then the job coach will take the child to wherever it is that the work is to be done, and they'll do it. And then they'll come back and they'll ask. And it's funny to hear over time. Now the young lady that's with us today, on Mondays, she comes in, now she'll actually go to Susan and say, what's next, Susan? When she first came, Susan's my firm, you know, she's my, I jokingly call her my daytime watch. She tells me where to be during the day. And then when I go home in the evening, then my wife, Debbie, takes over for the rest of the day, and the nights and the weekends. And she went over to Susan and said, what do I do next, Susan? This was after a month. I mean, it was astonishing. She first came in, she was totally non-convinced because we could see the progress these kids make. They don't charge a dime. Okay, they can't. I guess technically they could, but they don't, because this is part of their schooling. So the school districts pay for the teacher to come with them and for all the types of things, you know, for the school's time, for the child's time, so you can't charge them. The other thing is they're fully insured, because the school districts and the school itself has insurance. So when they come into your workplace, you know, you're going to be protected under their insurance. So all we're asking now is to get as many of these closely held businesses as possible, you know, to part. And again, I keep saying closely held because that's where most of them are. It doesn't have to be. To open their doors and take one of these kids in or two of them in for a couple of hours a week to give them an opportunity. Get rid of like a really boring work, because for us it's boring, for them it's a great thing because it's repetitive. And interestingly enough, most people say, well, I can't use one in my business, which is not true. The only thing we don't like to send, the only place we don't like to send these kids is where it's dangerous. Okay, so I mean, no, they can even work in a kitchen, but they won't put them into a manufacturing line, you know, because obviously it's too dangerous for that kind of work. But they're trying to find different types of places, not just offices. An example was a one of these outpatient medical surgeries that are popping up all over the place now. You go in for day surgery. One of the teachers went to one of these, and I'll tell you exactly how the process works, evaluated it, and they said, well, we're doctors and nurses, and we have operating rooms. What could we possibly use, you know, one of your kids? Well, she looked, and, you know, when they do surgery, they have these things that they cut you open with, you know, clamps and retractors and all this kind of scalpels, whatever they call them. And they don't throw them out because they're too expensive, so they reuse them. And we learned that they reuse them by basically putting them in this thing called an autoclave and superheating them. And that kills all the bacteria, and then they put them in plastic bags. Well, the business was so busy that they did all of that, thank God, because otherwise everyone would die. But they weren't sorting these things, so they would have a big table piled with, you know, different types of equipment. The nurses would have to be scrounging through before surgery trying to find the scalpel 4 or retractor 3. Well, this was perfect for an autistic kid. So there it was like boxing mail in the old days. I don't know if you ever went to a post office back before it was auto sorted. They used to have guys throwing the letters in the box. This kid sat there, boom, 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 sorted. He loved it. He loved it. The nurses loved it because they didn't have to mess with this stuff anymore. And the kid had shown the job skill. So who would have ever thought that a kid like this working in a surgical center? Doesn't matter. What happens if a business agrees to participate is we then get the request from the school. Well, first we get a request from the school. And Forum School, by the way, I think we have something like 17 left. They gave us 22, we're replacing them. And that's right here, so you guys gotta help us out. I'm making a particular pitch for Forum School because it's so close to us, where we are. They'll then send a teacher. So if the business says, oh, okay, one of your guys from Las Vegas, Lee, who just came in and went, he's taking a kid from Forum School, okay? So, they'll come in, once the business has said, yeah, okay, they'll send an evaluator to go to this job site to see whether or not whatever's going on in that job site is something that one of their kids could do. If it's not a match, they're not going to take it, obviously. They'll find somebody else. Okay? Once the evaluation is complete and they've decided, yeah, this kid can get a useful experience here for a couple of hours a week or whatever, then they'll arrange for the schedule, and the child will just show up at the appointed time and do whatever routine tasks you decide the child wants to do. So it's really a no-brainer. I mean, it really is an easy sell. Now, from the point of view of Rotary, what the process would be then, okay, we get from the school, and you probably heard from a guy named Alan Levine who works for me, who's doing all the grunt work, contacting all the schools and everything. You know, Alan will get a request from the school, like he got 22 or 23 from Forum School. And then we will go to the Rotary clubs that are within the geographic distance, because they can only transport them a certain distance, maybe 15, 20 minutes we ask them, because they have to do it during the school day. And then we would go to the club and say, okay guys, look amongst your businesses, see if there's anybody here who would be interested in participating in the program, just taking a kid. Okay? If the answer is no, which always astonishes me because it really is such a no-brainer, then we tell you guys, okay, we'll go to those businesses in your neighborhood, knock on the door, tell them we're Rotary, and we're trying to do something good for special needs kids. And the reality of it is, I hate to sound crude, but right now it's trendy. You know, everybody knows about autism. You know, everyone knows about the myosol, whatever that stuff is, the mercury stuff. You know, there's just a whole lot of things, that a lot of noise being made in that industry. So Rotary can say, hey, we're trying to do something to help these kids. Then you're going to the businesses who could all be potential donors and members, but you're not asking them for money, and you're not asking them to join. You know, it's like when you get the knock on a Sunday morning, people are standing outside your door. You know, you don't answer that, but do you really want to be hit by that? A lot of our businesses feel the same way when Rotary comes knocking. They just don't want to be, don't want to have a piece of it. So this way, you can go show them who we are, that we do good stuff in their communities. Then later, when you need members, or you want to get them up for money, then you have a much better chance to have a receptive audience, particularly if they take a kid, because then they see what we do. Okay. So in a short version, that's the process. So they contact us, and we then contact you and say, guys, like Paul can be helpful, he's very helpful in this. Guys, take a kid. Just take a kid. And it's really, it's nothing to it. Yeah, that's the short version. I'm going to stop.
Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
You want to mention Chamber of Commerce?
Also, by the way, any port in the storm, I kind of brought one of the 3 tables. Any port in the storm, and by that I mean I'll go anywhere, or someone will go anywhere to talk to any business group about the program. Okay? And we're talking about the Chamber of Commerce, which is where Lee ran this morning. Chamber of Commerce, I'll go talk to them. Yeah, all we have to do is any business that you conceivably take a kid, I'll put my little Rotary shirt on, which I wear out to death. And I'll walk over there, or if anyone wants somebody else learns how to do it, they can do it. I don't care, it's not about me.